She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA.
What Rebecca Lobo just said about Caitlin Clark and the WNBA referees is nothing short of explosive. And it's something the league's top brass can't keep brushing aside. Because after witnessing the most powerful display of the Caitlin Clark effect right in the middle of a game marred by awful officiating against the Sun, it's clear that this kind of refereeing isn't just embarrassing. It could tank the entire WNBA. And now, Rebecca, a Hall of Famer and legend in the women's game, has officially raised the red flag. This isn't just a hot take. She's exposing the quiet conversations happening behind the scenes about how bad the officiating really is. The league won't love hearing this, but someone had to say it, because if there's one thing we've learned, it's that the WNBA still doesn't know how to protect the biggest name it's ever had, Caitlin Clark. We'll get into Rebecca's comments and a developing fever storyline that brings some hope, but also makes the league's silence even more shocking. Before we dive in, hit that like button. Every like is a backup whistle for the refs, since the one they've got clearly isn't getting used. And don't forget to subscribe for everything Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever. Let's rewind, because the WNBA clearly needs a refresher.
The nerve, the second-year players clearing out that side of the floor, shooting on Stewie, and then watch the reaction with one another. Stewie's laughing.
As of right now, Caitlin Clark's epic comeback happened just a few games ago, and she didn't just return, she detonated. 25 points in one half, including 3 deep threes in under 40 seconds. It was electric, a stretch that reminded everyone exactly who's putting fans in seats and eyes on screens.
And Cunningham is down behind the play, but they've got Caitlin Clark. Two players with incredible Clark, another long three. She's back.
That game wasn't just a moment, it was a megaphone, a clear and undeniable message. The WNBA doesn't simply gain from Caitlin Clark, it depends on her. And the 5 games she sat out, they weren't a minor setback. They were a full-blown exposure. TV numbers dropped like a rock. Social media buzz flatlined. Mainstream interest vanished. Suddenly, every other WNBA storyline felt like background noise without her in the picture.
But here we go with Caitlin Clark singularly being missing for the time she was gone, and ratings tanking 50% in some cases. And then also she comes back and reminds everyone how spectacular she is. And everybody's talking about the WNBA. So if you needed to sort of have it affirmed to you that it is just her, that the singularity of her is what we are talking about and her star power, you got it with this absence and then the way she came back.
After weeks of viewership slumps and growing criticism, Caitlin Clark's return didn't just jolt the Fever. It jump-started the entire league. Their showdown against the Liberty, it pulled in a staggering 2.8 million viewers, instantly becoming one of the most-watched games in WNBA history. For perspective, the NHL's Stanley Cup Finals, you know that thing men's hockey fans wait all year for, averaged just 2.5 million viewer. Sure, basketball and hockey aren't a perfect one-to-one comparison, but Caitlin Clark outdrew a major men's championship series. That's not just impressive, that's historic. And even if WNBA leadership still hasn't caught on to what that means, don't worry, Rebecca Lobo has. She's an Olympic champion, a Hall of Famer, and probably the most rational voice ESPN has when it comes to the women's game. Before we get to what she said about the refs, just listen to how she broke down the ripple effect of Clark's return.
Rebecca, tell me, what does Clark's return mean for the WNBA?
Well, I mean, it means a lot more people are paying attention once again. We know how much Caitlin drives ratings. We know how much Caitlin drives attention on the WNBA. And for her to come back and do it in that way was just ridiculous.
Here's what Lobo said that hit hardest. People are watching again. It's a quiet line, but it says everything. Because if fans are watching again, it means they stopped watching. And we all know the exact moment that shift happened. The minute Caitlin Clark was sidelined. Lobo didn't stop there. She explained precisely why the audience came roaring back the second Clark hit the court again.
I'm sitting there at the end of the first quarter when she had that 38-second stretch where she drained deep three after deep three after deep three. I was just sitting there thinking, I've been around this league since 1997. I have never seen that in a WNBA game. Have we seen players go on runs? Of course we have, but not like that. Not where a couple of the three-pointers are from 30-plus feet. It was an exhibition by her.
Here's the thing. These weren't just long-range twos or deep threes. These were full-on logo shots launched from another zip code. Very few players in the league can do that, and absolutely no one does it with the smoothness Caitlin Clark delivers, making it look like part of her daily shooting warm-up. That's exactly why fans stay glued to the screen. Even Natasha Cloud, one of Clark's most vocal critics, had to admit the truth. She said it flat out.
It was just ridiculous. It's not often that you're watching the WNBA or that I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, I've just never seen this before.
That's what makes everything we've witnessed, not just since Caitlin Clark's comeback, but even dating back to last season, so concerning. Because we're no longer talking about just a couple missed whistles or physical play. This is a recurring issue. It's become so blatant, so obvious that even longtime WNBA veterans like Rebecca Lobo are finally speaking out. And that matchup against the Sun, it should have been a siren blast to the entire league.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabry. Boom! I mean, come on.
During the game, J.C. Sheldon and Marina Mabry practically tag-teamed their attacks on Caitlin Clark. First, a smack across the face, then a full-body check that sent her flying to the hardwood. And somehow, neither of them got thrown out. Now look, nobody's saying Caitlin wasn't chirping a bit with Sheldon earlier. She was. But talking trash isn't an invitation to physically go after someone. You can't just knock the league's biggest star to the floor like it's a wrestling match and think nothing will happen. Even the broadcasters were stunned. Their voices said it all. They were expecting an ejection. And they weren't the only ones. Analysts, coaches, fans, and players all around the league were just as shocked.
At this point,
hey, we would have been crashing that team.
Courtney, if somebody ever tackles you like that,
Nobody would ever tackle me like that. They would play with Bridget like that, and then we would have to like take it up there.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
But I'm just saying.
Nobody would ever play with me like
if that ever happened, you better crash out behind me, because I'm crashing out behind you. We can share the same jail cell.
Sure, the slap to the face and the shove that sent Clark down were the viral moments everyone's been sharing. But let's not pretend that came out of nowhere. The tension had been rising the entire game, and the officials, they just stood there and let it happen.
This is J.C. Sheldon right here with an entire handful of Caitlin Clark's shoulder and bicep, and she's twisting it, okay? I mean, this is wild. Here's the zoomed out look, the snapshot. I mean, this league does not have control of its player.
What started as physical play quickly exploded. After the game, head coach Stephanie White was clearly livid. You could tell before she even said a word. She took her seat, short pause, and then absolutely let it rip.
You know, the game has changed so much. Players are faster, they're better, they're bigger, they're stronger. You know, they're as good as they've ever been, they're as athletic as they've ever been. The game is fast now. Things are happening quickly. Everybody's getting better, except the officials.
That's probably the most cutting way to criticize the referees without actually calling them out by name. Forcefully, we're improving, you're not. Those words hit like a sledgehammer, and they captured exactly what so many fans, coaches, and players have felt all year long.